Hi guys, we'll put together a quick series of videos to help out writers and get some information across while we're all in this together, so to speak. The first thing is a lot of people will say, I've got this great idea for a story. You may have a great idea for a story, but a story is not always a movie. For example, you may have this turmoil, a relationship between two people, a lot of it's internal. What are they thinking? The stress, the anxiety, the horrible things that are happening to them. That doesn't mean it's going to be a movie. Movies are a visual way of telling a story. You also have to be able to look at the larger picture through one person's eyes. That person is who you're going to be telling the story through. If it is in the Battle of Stalingrad or Leningrad, during World War II, there was the city of Leningrad was, I think it was Stalingrad then, was petitioned off by the Germans, and they starved the city out. That movie has Gabriel Byrne in it, was told through one journalist's eyes. A journalist who was stuck behind the barricades and what she went through and how she worked to help some people survive. Some children survive that barricade, the starvation. That whole town, that whole city, the biggest story that came in that area for World War II was told through one person's eyes. So make sure your story is a movie. A movie has certain characteristics. It has visual components. It has relationships between people. Traditionally, people will learn something. They'll change. They'll change from the start of the story to the end of the story. If they don't change, the world around them changes. So they stay the same. Captain America, Winter Soldier, Cap is always the same person, but there was a massive amount of change around him. Hydra, the destruction of all the infrastructure. Or you do the Hobbit, a there and back again story, where his view of the world has changed. So there has to be some change. If the movie is exactly the same at the beginning, or the story is the same at the beginning and same at the end, it's not really a movie. It is a great story. It could be a short story, it could be a novel, it could be a novella, it could be something. But a movie is a very, very specific story. A movie has to have visual components. It's very hard to tell a story that isn't told visually. At the moment, the Hostage is being made over in New York. It's on shut down at the moment, like everything else. But that's 3 men, 2 policemen and the hostage, the guy who's tied to the chair, all set in one room. There's not a huge amount of visual elements, but the visual elements that are there take us through the physical transformation of the hostage, what's happening to him, how he's being treated, the cops, how they're starting to look at each other, how they're starting to posture, how they're starting to talk, the interaction, how the room's evolving as they're starting to use the elements in the room. There was visual storytelling involved, and the visual storytelling also had to be a bit of choreography, where things are going to be placed in the room, what that means for the story, how it's moving forward, and how their relationship changes. The journey that's being taken in, the changes being taken in, is their relationships with themselves, the relationship that one of the policemen has with the larger police force and the community, and a change in himself, what he sees as his role in the world. So a movie has to have change. It has to have some visual elements, and it's not a story set inside a head. It has to be set in the external world. You need a way of getting the elements that are inside the character's head out into the real world. Then you may have a story. Then you may have a movie. You always have a story, but then you may have a movie. So write it out in prose. Make sure that you can see ways of telling it visually. Make sure that it is a movie. No matter how intriguing it is, a big corporate takeover, or illegal activity in an area, or how police are turning their back on a neighborhood, you have to have someone who can tell that story for you. It has to be able to be told visually, and it has to have a start, a middle, and an end. It can't be an ongoing saga. If you can, a movie, the difference between a movie and a series, a movie can be told once. It has to be a single telling of that event. Once it's told, it's done. A series, on the other hand, can keep going and going and going and going, like Law and Order or any of those other series, where you've got a universe. A movie is not a universe. It has to be a single event that can happen once. I hope this helps. See ya.